Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer, everything stated in this video is my opinion and
oh, it's a good video. Amen. Y'all make sure you go follow True Crime with Jules. Link is down in the description. Oh my word. Figure we end this one with a bang, y'all. She is unfiltered as they come. And we love it. Here we go. Let's keep going.
my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. All right, as you guys know, there's been a settlement in the Mica Miller situation, and I am not happy about it. I feel like I was right this whole time about the family. Because like I've said, and I mentioned it in what I'm going to show you after this too, but both things can be true. I've said it before. Her family obviously knew that there was issues from her father's own admittance of behavioral changes around the time that she met JP Miller when she was 15-ish years old, and it was allowed to happen. His plan was able to work out. He got his way when it came to Mica, right? That's what we've seen. I never agreed with them being in the camera the way that they were and what they were trying to push because of that. That was just something I was just not going to be able to let go of. And what happened yesterday in court just solidified all of that for me. Now I'm recording this intro after I've watched this entire thing, and I'm upset. Like, I was upset yesterday when I heard like just the fact that there was a settlement, and I listened to maybe like 2 small things about it, but I listened to some more stuff this morning and I just got even more upset. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to go watch the one from Fitz News because it has the 2 attorneys actually talking in full and pieces of like small clips from inside the courtroom. Now, I don't know if the hearing itself is ever going to get released because they're sealing everything for confidentiality because they don't want the truth to come out. And I think there was some blackmail involved in here. And again, that's just my freaking opinion. Just like everything else on this channel is my opinion. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and stop talking. And now y'all can just watch this with me and watch me react to like all of the things, because one of the channels I was watching this morning about it was showing just like clips of this interview and sort of creating his own narrative out of it and not playing the full thing from what I can remember. Because there was some stuff in here that I heard them say on the subject that this guy was going off on that I didn't hear whenever he was playing it. So a lot of what was said in here took me by surprise. But I also didn't listen to that guy for very long because I was starting to get like just an off vibe by the way that he was acting like he knew a lot about what was going on, but then proving that he didn't know a lot about what was going on. It was just a lot. So I just got off of it and decided to just listen to it myself. And now this is me watching it in full and reacting as I'm watching it. And I will be back here in a minute.
Oh, damn. Here we go.
Today, John Paul Miller, Solid Rock Church, Inc., and the estate of Mica Francis Miller, along with individual members of the Francis family, have reached a full and final settlement on all presently filed litigation. The parties have also signed a full mutual release on all.
I guess we're going to hear this a couple of times, y'all. You are correct, Heather. Just kidding, Heather.
Potential future litigation. The terms of the settlement agreement are sealed under a confidentiality agreement.
So we're not going to be able to get anything from a FOIA to say exactly how much the settlement amount was. But in Robbie Harvey's live this morning, he mentioned something about it being 6 figures. I'm honestly like still like just, I'm annoyed. I'm depressed. This is depressing. But I told you guys, the family can suck and JP can suck at the same time. I'm just floored, I guess.
The agreement and release include, but are not limited to.
And what he said earlier about future litigation, that means that they're like legally not allowed to pursue JP for literally anything when it comes to Mica.
To the dismissal with prejudice of the matters currently pending in both family court and probate court of Horry County. You just witnessed in court the withdrawal of the petition in probate court. Mica's family, Pastor Miller, and the church have set their differences aside to allow Mica's memory to live on without the encumbrance of contentious litigation.
Okay, but the whole actual point was for like JP to get in some sort of trouble, for him to have some sort of punishment for the type of man that he has been. Because all of his truths came out. The truths about the church.
All parties now consider this matter closed.
Of course they do.
Those that have sought justice for Mica should feel accomplished in helping the Francis family in reaching this milestone.
You mean the people that are actual victims, or the people that have never experienced this stuff but are here anyway because they're good humans and they are supporting the fact that there is a horrible situation here? We should feel accomplished for the Francis family getting a 6-figure settlement from the abuser? They can't be for real right now. They cannot be for real.
South Carolina criminal investigators have concluded their work of following up on the investigation done by Robeson County Sheriff's Office in this case with nothing new to report. Unfortunately, we don't know every piece of information that led to the death of Mica. We do know that her life did serve a purpose. Her life mattered. Those that have spent every...
But her life mattered to who at this point? A bunch of strangers on the internet and a bunch of people at church? Her actual family and her husband? No, not really at all. Because like I said, her father, this Michael guy, came out here and said, oh, it was obvious there was behavioral changes and blah, 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 when it came to her meeting JP as a teenager and the things that ensued from that. And they didn't stop it. People have acted like, oh, they did try to stop it. They called this person or reported this, but no one's ever shown me any proof. No one has ever shown me any proof that the Francis family ever once tried to file a report claiming that this grown-ass man was trying to get the attention of their teenage daughter. Instead, she ended up babysitting for him. Come on now. This is just absolutely disgusting. Like, it really just feels like they really just did this to get their little 15 minutes of fame and to be able to just, you know, get something out of JP. Because I remember him even claiming before that right whenever Mica died and they were figuring out the jewelry to put her ashes and stuff in, that they wanted like the most expensive pieces ever. And he was like, no, y'all have to like rethink all of that because I'm paying for all of this, but this is excessive. Like, y'all should come on now. And as much as he is also like a loser, they can all suck at the same time. I'm telling you guys right now, I have felt this from the beginning, and them doing absolutely nothing, them getting rid of all of the possibilities that they actually legally had to do anything right by Mica. They literally let all of that go literally on day one. Honestly, if you really think about it, this has not been going on that freaking long. They caved in hella quick for 6 figures, if Robbie's right. It's just
damn, Jules sounds mad as hell.
Disgusting.
Every Sunday morning protesting outside of Solid Rock Church, chanting justice for Mica, should recognize this time of healing and move on with their lives. We only ask that you remember Mica as the wonderful, beautiful person that she was. And now Regina may have something to say.
I'm sure she does. Ugh.
It is
Oh, damn, Jules is hating on Regina too.
true that we reached a global settlement on all issues that could have been brought to court. Some additional things that are some things that are pending now, as well as things that could have been filed. Those have been resolved as well. As far as justice for Mica, we are ready to go to the next chapter. And
okay, she can all she wants to, but how much of the percentage was that 6-figure settlement that they just got going to her for being the lawyer?
Typically around 40%.
No, what y'all just did literally just clarified and cemented that Mica's law is going to end up just like those other legislative bills that she brought to our attention that just ended up collecting dust. The family just settled with the abuser. Mica's law is going to go nowhere. Not that that's what I want, but I promise you now that's what's going to happen. So this Southern, let's just preach it all boo-boo that she's pulling. No, I'm seeing right through that fake ass.
the next chapter is to go and convince our General Assembly to take a look at the coercive control law bill.
It won't.
We need that on the agenda ASAP. We need it taken seriously. We need it to be.
What do you mean? Y'all didn't take this entire case seriously, Miss Ma'am.
Miss Ma'am.
And I find all of this extremely interesting because that whole interview got released. And let me tell y'all something. I haven't listened to the whole thing. I have recorded the entire thing. And I have a plan for how I want to do this. If I have time, I'll do it this way. If not, it'll just be the Cliff Notes and differences. But there's a lot of really damning stuff that JP says in this interview. Stuff about stuff that Mica's mom apparently did to her. Stuff about Mica's father. All kinds of stuff about the family.
Whoa.
Both can be true. The family can be horrible and JP can be a loser at the same time. And honestly, through all of this, I really wonder how JP's ex-wife feels. Because she trusted them also with a lot of her personal information and all of the truths about their divorce and the stuff that was brought to the church concerning all of the things that JP admitted to when it comes to Mica and everything else. And like, they just settled. They're not fighting for anything. So what's this going to end up doing to the custody situation now? Because the ex-wife had gone back in and had the court grant a bunch of stuff. And because of what was coming out and going on, he's been like restricted from seeing not only the kids as much, but definitely he's not allowed to be alone with their daughter. And I mean, that's the last update that we heard anyway.
Be made into law in the very next session of the General Assembly. Standing by and doing nothing is unacceptable.
You are doing
It's
nothing.
absolutely embarrassing.
Look at her face. Look at her face. Is she talking to herself right now? I'm going to clip in like a zoomed in of her face right here. I'm going to actually go back and play that whole piece again, zoomed in right here.
As far as justice for Mica, that we are ready to go to the next chapter. Standing by and doing nothing is unacceptable. It is absolutely embarrassing. It is absolutely embarrassing.
Look at her face.
Whoa.
I hope that you feel disgusted with yourself, because I feel like you are talking to yourself right here, Miss Ma'am.
Damn.
And you should be ashamed. You really should.
I urge everyone, if you want the final piece of justice for Mica, which means justice for all who have been domestically abused, please put your efforts into getting in touch with your legislators. Get in touch with the people who have the power to do something here, and do it now.
You have
these other things that you're doing. That time has passed. It is time to move to the next.
These other things that you're doing, the time has passed. What the hell is that supposed to mean? And you can't discuss what's going on with Mica's law without discussing all of the things about JP. And that's what we're doing. We're discussing all the things about JP because he is the one who coercively controlled Mica. That's kind of the entire point here. I don't know what their point is to all this, but this is like really just making me upset.
Chapter. We want to focus on the memory and the beauty of Mica and everything that she has represented for herself and every single person that has ever been in her situation. And we, her family, when I say we, I'm talking about the Francis family. They need your help.
Doing what?
They need your help on this. We don't want to talk about Mr. Miller anymore.
You cannot pass Mica's law, fight for Mica's law, do anything for Mica's freaking law without talking about her abuser. That's not how it works, you stupid woman. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, damn.
They literally, they're not going to be able to do anything with this now because of what the Francis family just did. And this fake ass act that she's putting on, I'm not falling for it. It's like, I don't fall for JP's wham whack here, boo boo, nothing. Okay. They were separated. They've been separated. She filed for divorce. I don't care about none of this act that this woman is putting on because it's all an act. All an act.
Move forward.
I mean, Jules did bring up the point that this lady's making a percentage of that settlement. You know what I mean?
Forward to the next chapter, and that is getting this law passed.
Well, it can't without
talking to JP, please idiot. Contact my office if you want to volunteer. We are putting together benefits to raise money for this cause. We are also looking at.
Yeah, let me show y'all that real quick because I looked that up because I drafted an email to send to these people.
Selena.
And then decided not to because I wanted to listen to this entire thing first. Where did it go? I saw that they had here it is events. Let me share this tab. They have something coming up in November. I don't know what date this is, some clothing and toiletry drive. And then another thing in, it's the exact same thing. Mica's benefit concert. That's what they're doing. They're doing a benefit concert in November and then some sort of drive for this. What is that going to do? What is that going to do? It's not going to do anything.
A potential rally on the Capitol if the General Assembly doesn't get it together.
Oh, girl, stop your act.
Now, I know that some of you are going to be somewhat disappointed to hear that we reached an agreement.
No, you reached a money.
Let me tell you about that agreement. First of all, the terms are supposed to be confidential, but nobody can keep a secret anymore. Setting that aside, please don't be disappointed by it. Whenever you're involved in litigation of this magnitude, and this many things to cover and all the complexities of it, could take years to go through a court system.
So
we do not want the Francis family or anyone to be drugged through litigation for years. We want to put this behind us and move on to the next chapter that matters. And when we say that we've gotten justice for Mica as a result of this settlement, it is true.
Prove it.
So again,
prove it.
This.
What do you mean? How is it true that justice for Mica happens with allowing him to win this? Okay, just because there's a federal investigation into the church doesn't mean that that's going to do anything for the things that he has done to Mica throughout 15 years of knowing her. It doesn't. And her sister is no longer the executor of her estate at all. Meaning that her sister no longer has control of all those journals and diaries full of evidence against JP. Now it's going to go to JP. So how is this justice for Mica when y'all literally are handing him over everything for a check?
We've not just closed the probate court matter today, but we've resolved every matter between the Francises, Mr. Miller, and the church. So we can't answer any questions about the settlement or about the agreement. That's the point. It's confidential, and it needs to be that way.
It'll be out by the
You
end
can
of
try
the
to
day.
ask a question that doesn't pertain to that, and we might be able to answer it if you want to try. Anybody have a question?
So can I you might not be able to answer this, but the obvious question, Regina, if you can speak to this on the family side, but how did you guys come to this agreement of withdrawing request?
Very good question. So part of resolving all of the cases that's pretty much where we start. Okay. The global settlement, which really, I was also retained to file a civil action, potentially wrongful death and things like that. Okay. Litigation.
Yeah, that means no
there's
more
always
wrongful
our
death.
side and their side. There's always strengths to cases and weaknesses to cases. Okay. And so it's in order to, to facilitate moving to the next place that we need to be. It was in the best interest of the family to do that.
Yeah,
we had to always, there's always this duty, and excuse me, this is not, there's always a duty whenever litigation is filed. Okay. We have court rules here that say that any matter that is contested is required to go through ADR, alternative dispute resolution, i.e. mediation. So regardless, even if we had went ahead and filed actions, we would have been under court rules to engage in mediation to get it resolved. We can't get Mica back. Okay. There's no undoing that. The only way that the law can provide anything to anyone that's ever, damaged in any kind of way, is for compensation. And
You're giving the compensation to her family, and half of them are responsible for the fact that it was allowed in the first place 15 years ago when she was a child. So you basically just rewarded them for being horrible parents. Beautiful.
Things that we all agreed to, certain other terms other than that. So it was going to be a matter of time. We would be required to do that anyway. We call this pre-litigation, mediation. We didn't have a formal mediation, but Russell and I had engaged in an intensive talking back and forth right up to the last second of coming to this court.
Attorney Long, you referenced the state reviewing some of the Robeson County investigations. Also noticed that your statement conspicuously did not mention any potential federal investigation into Pastor Miller. Can you comment on the status of that federal investigation? Can you tell us which state agency reviewed the Robeson County investigation?
I don't believe I indicated state or federal. I said South Carolina investigators. You can
tell us who you were referring to when you were...
I'm referring to whoever has investigated this case, federal and state. Yes.
Desiree, thank you.
So all, from your perspective, all criminal inquiries into John Paul Miller are concluded?
We believe so.
Okay, so see, I don't think Harvey played this part on his live this morning because he wasn't playing the full thing. He was just playing clips, and he didn't play that part because I was ready to make a comment, and then I saw the guy move his mouth, and he kept on talking. He said, that doesn't mean anything about federal. He just said something about South Carolina. Okay, well, he didn't finish letting this sentence play, so we're going to listen to this again.
Who you were referring to when you were...
I'm referring to whoever has investigated this case, federal and state. Yes, sir.
So all, from your perspective, all criminal inquiries into John Paul Miller are concluded?
We believe so.
Oh.
We have every reason to believe so. We've asked for definitive answers on that, and the answers and or lack of answers that we've received can only lead to that answer, that we in fact...
This alludes to the fact that there's nobody looking into JP at all for anything anymore, including the stuff at the church with the feds.
Fact that they have in fact concluded their investigation. That they have in fact concluded their investigation.
So just to confirm, the decision to withdraw that request was just because it was going to happen sometime, and you didn't want to put the family through that. You both didn't want to put the family through that.
Okay, let me see if I understand. You're asking about us withdrawing the request in terms of probate and continuing to serve as a special administrator. Okay, special administrator has limited duties. Okay, and she would. Our petition was to have her be appointed as the personal representative, which has an overall duty of the estate from the beginning to the end. In terms of a special administrator, the limitation is to collect, as the order stated, is to collect property that may belong to the estate, preserve that property, because at that point there was no personal representative that had been named. And so an estate cannot be without some form of administrator to oversee and protect the property and preserve the estate. So what the court will do is it's kind of like a Band-Aid measure, a quick measure, is to appoint what's referred to as a special administrator. They also have duties like when there's a conflict of interest, because if a personal representative is somehow involved in something else related to the decedent, then that may create a conflict. It doesn't prevent them necessarily from serving as a personal representative, but as a special administrator, her duties are somewhat limited. We have reached all of those, and as far as once we reach this settlement agreement, then there's no need for her to continue to anything else in Mica's case. The court has required us to do a Form 2, which we will do. And then once she completes that, the order that was issued by the probate judge was very, very clear in what her duties would involve. And so now that we've got this global settlement, she can step back from that. There are always some other administrative duties that need to be, finished up with regard to the estate, some required forms through the probate court. And assuming that Mr. Miller is appointed her personal representative, which is not any reason to believe he wouldn't be, then.
Right there. They're going to give everything to JP, because that's the only property that Mica really has. Okay. It's not like she has houses and bank accounts full of cash, at least not that we know of. All right. She's got clothes and maybe some books and basic household things because she was living with an old retired nurse in an apartment. Shouldn't have a lot. But according to this attorney, it's a lot of journals and diaries full of really damning and horrible, disgusting things about JP. They're handing him everything and taking a 6-figure settlement to the bank.
He would be tasked with the duties to complete and close out that estate with regard to whatever forms and documents are required to do that.
And is the family content, Mica's family content with this agreement that you guys have come to?
Yes,
I'm sure they are.
If they were not, we would not have reached the agreement.
No, figures
as in any type of negotiation, there's always give and take.
Sure.
I once had a retired judge that served as a mediator told me one time when I was a young lawyer, said if both parties walk away feeling like they didn't get everything, or they got some things and not everything, and everybody feels like they're not exactly 100% happy, then it's a great compromise, because that means that one side didn't get everything that they wanted, but neither did the other. And that would be the same here. But what we got.
What are you talking about? What happened? JP lost some money? Who gives a shit? Are you for real? That's all that happened here. JP literally won everything. I don't understand people that are saying he didn't win, but he didn't lose or whatever. Like, no, the only thing that I'm seeing here that JP loses is a little bit of money that he's probably going to be able to gain back from the church in like a month, and his bar business and like all these other things he's got going on. Right. So this was nothing. This is stupid. This is so stupid. This is so stupid. Oh, this is embarrassing.
Is completely satisfactory to the entire family. As you know, Sierra is not only the special administrator and the plaintiff in the marital estate, she's also the personal representative or spokesperson for her very large family. And I can just tell you this, that family does nothing that they all don't agree to. So it took a bit to go through that, and everyone, contributed in some form or fashion, and therefore, everybody is satisfied with the end result.
You looked at her,
So
she ended her.
about what happens in the next 10 days, I believe that you spoke to.
I'm sorry.
The next 10 days, I believe.
next
they had
10 days?
something about the
Oh, yeah.
10 days.
His Honor, just now in the probate matter, has other matters there were filings involved in the case. He has to make a ruling on what part of those filings can remain in the record and if part of those filings need to be sealed. So there are 10 days set in by His Honor just now to give the parties a time to hash that out and
What else is going
bring
to be
those
kept
to light.
secret?
That way he can make a final ruling.
And do you guys, is there any on your side plan to file a wrongful death suit?
Absolutely not. No, this global settlement settles John Paul Miller and the church and the entire Francis family in their entirety. There will be no actions filed by either one. And I want to bring up what Ms. Ward has brought up in two ways about the people who've decided to carry on the Justice for Mica / shut down Solid Rock Church protests that are going on every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock in front of Solid Rock Church.
Oh, and let me tell y'all something. I found this out this morning. There's interviews going around. I'm not going to show them to you here. I'll go back in my history and put a link for one of them in the description box.
That's great. Thank you.
But I found this channel this morning and they were talking about this interviewer who's actually not an interviewer. She's actually somebody who knows JP and them. And she comes into like the audience or whatever, the protesters, like the crowd of protesters. And she's asking them all kind of questions about what their purpose is for being there. What do they want to happen to the church? Like what all of this is. And she's asking them stuff, right? Well, after
That's the video we watched the day before yesterday.
few people like see the name that she's got on her fake ass badge. Remember the fake reporter in the Idaho 4 case? She had a fake ass badge. And so people were looking up the company and there was nothing about the company on Google. They looked up her name on Facebook and found her connections to the church and JP and Mica. Like she knows them. So it was after that interview thing that all of a sudden people are just like settling and we're done and over with. And it's probably because in that interview, they were saying that they were trying to shut down the church. And that's really honestly probably like the big argument here is that this became a religious situation and religion always wins in court. That's normally how it works, which is probably why they're wanting to seal everything. Oh, man. This is depressing. I woke up this morning and made my coffee and went on a walk and took a shower and thought I was going to just be awesome today. And I'm still going to be awesome today, but this is depressing. I was sad about this for a while. Last night when I first heard about it. And then I went to bed and I woke up this morning and I was like, let me just listen to the whole thing, get some insight on it and see what happens and resettle my brain. And no, I'm more mad now that I've listened to the whole thing. I'm upset. This is disgusting.
The Francis family just asked them through their attorney to focus their energy somewhere else. She asked them to help focus their energy towards the passing of this Coercive Control Act. And she asked them to focus that energy on the legislators that are around the state. She's asking them to do that. That means that the Francis family, Mica's family, the people who love and care for her the most, have asked.
Really? Do they though? Do they though? This is why, just like in the Caleb Harris case and all these other cases, when it comes to what we talk about here, it's about the victims before anything. It's about the victims before anything. Because you never know what the intentions are of the family members who put their faces in front of the cameras. You don't. We see it all the time. I called it in this one. Even before JP made that statement about the jewelry that they wanted was like the top tier most expensive on the whole thing. I just knew it. I just knew it. I've lived in this environment. And this felt so disgustingly familiar to me. I called it. I freaking called it, man.
The protesters to leave the church alone. I would ask that they leave the churchgoers alone. These poor people are just trying to go to church on Sunday, and they're being harassed, and they're being put in fear, and they're being made not to feel comfortable trying to go to church.
I don't think they're in fear.
The point is, this is today, this agreement, this global agreement that's been signed by everybody involved, is Mica's justice. The next step, which Ms. Ward pointed out, is their legislative goal to help reach out and talk the state legislature into passing this Coercive Control Act. That's what's left for these protesters to do if they feel like they still have energy to put towards this, not harassing church members. So we would ask that this be the end of that.
Telling you, that's all that this is. It's about the church stuff. I'm telling you right now. Okay, so this one's only about like 1 minute and 15 seconds. This is the only other little like news clip. Now,
whoa. Stacy says Sierra posted on Facebook that Russell Long isn't their attorney and that the family doesn't agree with his statement about protesting. Whoa. Stacy, is
news,
that true?
I think, is more of like a YouTube-based one. This one is from a news station. But this is really the only thing out there as of like right now. So we're just going to run through this real quick.
First,
look at him.
Solid Rock Church pastor John.
Did y'all see that? Look at him. He's just standing there looking straight at the news camera and just smiling. Looking like a weirdo.
Pastor John Paul Miller and his late wife's family came to an agreement today to end all legal disputes. Thanks for joining us.
Cowards,
I'm Tricia Miller.
And I'm Edward Moody. Mica Miller died by suicide at Lumber River State Park on April 27, 2 days after she filed for divorce. News 13's Adriana Lawrence joins us live outside the courthouse in Conway. And Adriana, how did both sides come to this agreement?
JP has money and they want money.
Well, Trish, Edward, not only did they come to that agreement you spoke about, but the family decided to withdraw their request to become a special administrator over Mica's estate. They say this is justice for Mica.
Justice for Mica is giving her alleged abuser all of her alleged evidence against him that's in all of these diaries and journals and screenshots and old phones and all the things. That's justice.
John Paul, Mica's family, and their lawyers met during a
Down in
probate
video.
hearing today after John Paul filed a motion to have Mica's sister Sierra removed as special administrator. In about 20 minutes, both parties agreed to withdraw that request.
All it took.
Regina Ward, attorney for Mica's family, and Russell Long for John Paul say the families want to set their differences aside and honor
Sure,
Mica.
they do.
Ward says the focus is
Sure.
now Mica's law to strengthen protections for victims of abuse across South Carolina. Coming
Not
up
to be
on News
ashamed.
13 at 11.
See? They settled for money. It's all going to be sealed up. They can't pursue him for anything again. Oh, but push Mica's law. Don't talk about JP, but push Mica's law. Well, honey, you can't. You can't do one without talking about the other. It's not how this works. I'm disappointed. I'm really disappointed. Are you just as disappointed as me? I need some more coffee so I can get out this phone. See y'all.